It's beyond getting your doors open, being a cool cannabis company, having great SEO. If you're not engaged with community and have that community support behind you, someone else is going to come in and outshine you in that respect. And that's what's really going to end up them stealing your customers. Everyone has this unique story with cannabis. Why did you get involved in cannabis?
Welcome to How to Flourish in Cannabis. I'm your host, Brian Weber. Today, our topic, 5 steps for effective cannabis marketing. How to Flourish in Cannabis is an educational focus show with experienced leaders in regulated cannabis. Our guests have a wide range of industry experience in law, insurance, real estate, and today, a specialist in cannabis branding and marketing. There's no pitches here. This is designed to be a masterclass in regulated cannabis. How to Flourish in Cannabis is our effort to educate and elevate. Today, I am so pleased by our guest. John, thank you for joining us today. I've known him for a few months now, but I've seen him around the industry events for a long time. And every time we have a good conversation, I walk away learning something new. And I always appreciate about running into you at any networking event that we happen to cross paths at. So, John, thanks for joining today.
My pleasure, Brian. I'm really, really happy to be here.
So John is the founder and CEO of PufCreative. You have been in the cannabis industry for 10 years, which is like forever, basically, for regulated cannabis.
Might as well be 100.
Might as well be 100. John, why don't you give the audience a little bit of background about why you're on here today and like some of the experience? I'd love to be able to share that with our guests.
Sure. Yeah. So as Brian mentioned, I'm CEO over at PufCreative. We pride ourselves in being an award-winning and community-focused cannabis-specific full-service marketing agency. As Brian said, I've been in the industry for 10 years now. PufCreative has been in the industry and business for about 7.5 years now, as of this March, which we're really, really proud of. I currently specialize in creative and revenue-focused marketing strategies for our clients all over the country, and it's a mix of retailers, brands, and fully integrated companies. And also we're working in some other countries as well, which we're really, really hyped about because the world's kind of tuning into cannabis now, which is just so cool to experience.
That's cool. I didn't know you guys were expanding internationally. So here's my show prep.
Yeah, some of our clients are, and we get some just hot leads from, businesses growing in other countries. It's just really cool that they're reaching out to us and trusting our experience, which is dope.
We've, dealing with partnerships at Flourish, I've had a number of marketing agencies reach out to us, like how to get into cannabis, how to do this. And I'm like, it is such a very particular niche, in either dealing with brands, dealing with dispensaries on the sell side or the buy side, and also just the vendors in this space, social media issues, Google issues, it goes from there. And it's a very particular niche, as if you were getting into pharma, as if you were getting into CPG, as if you were getting into any like automotive, any other particular niche. So I've always recommended to any customers that ask or any brands that ask is like, find somebody with proven track record of experience.
100%. And that's kind of like the approach that we take to it is we are full service. So even from just when folks engage us for branding, we're thinking 10 steps ahead of everything that could possibly go wrong. How do we fix these issues now? How do we address these issues now? How do we get our clients in front of the right tech partners? And we're going to talk about some of that fun stuff today.
Today's topic, 5 steps for effective cannabis marketing. And it's a wonderful 101 in a very holistic, thoughtful way as you're going through this. So whether if you're interested in getting into the industry, you're already in the industry, and you're not meeting some of your customer marketing and sales goals, we're just going to give an overview today of what we think is a very thoughtful process to approach marketing in cannabis. So first off, budget. When you get new customers calling you up and like you have that, it's good as a salesperson to have an honest budget conversation of like, what do you want? And, what are your goals? And how much do we have to be able to feed these goals? Where do you take that conversation initially when you're reaching out to people and some of the issues that you see come up with that?
In the cannabis industry, budgeting, I think, is a concern for every aspect of it because there's just so many unforeseen things that can go wrong with every single aspect of your business, unfortunately. The first thing I address is, what's your budget? And I always am very understandable and adaptable because every single operator out there is given a different situation in terms of the state they're in, the town they're in, the licensing, their construction approvals, you name it. Everyone's pro forma looks better. So it's really great to get on the same page with them from the start. The problem is that a lot of folks who are doing investing or raising money, have investors or have a pro forma, haven't properly actually created a realistic budget for their branding to start. And then realizing once they actually open, the money it's going to take to be competitive and be successful. Because even if you launch in a new market and you're first to market, you better bet that within the first year or two, you're going to have people popping up left and right around you. And if you're not ahead of the game from a branding and marketing perspective from the start, those folks are just going to start outranking you, stealing your customers, engaging with community, and sweeping your feet right out from under you. So I try to address those things very early on and set realistic expectations for clients and, try to be flexible with their budgets, but also at the same time, try to set a realistic expectation of like what's in store for them to come.
We talked pre-show or pre-recording about like currently here in New Jersey, it's a long process. There was an 18-month long lawsuit a long time ago. And but they're going through all these processes and just starting to come online. And some of that, initial budget may have been burned already, just keeping the lights on and the rent paid, let alone reaching out to customers.
Yes, New Jersey has been a very hot state as of recent. And I actually have a license in New Jersey myself. So I'm very familiar of what all the operators have gone through on the back end in terms of fundraising, dealing with the state, having to pay rent while you're waiting for 2 years to get an approval. And it's really, really easy to burn your budget. And what we're seeing is that folks are spending all the money that they raise just to get their doors open. And at this point in the game in a state like New Jersey, there's already the suite of folks who already got approved. And then there's going to be another suite of folks that are going to open after these new approvals just went through. So these are just things that a lot of folks don't consider when they even start going through the licensing process is, hey, maybe the approval takes 2 years and I have to pay rent the entire time. Maybe I should really set aside that branding and marketing budget. Because again, in New Jersey in particular, it was MSOs that got the first round of approvals. They usually already have a step up in the game because they have sites live in other states. They're already ranking for certain keywords, et cetera. They have PR backlinks. So then you open, now you're competing with them. How do you compete against the MSO? You have to do a full spectrum marketing approach to actually outrank them or outperform.
Without the economies of scale of a larger organization to be able to do that. So it's the local coffee shop versus Starbucks kind of model.
Exactly. And so it's like really using that budget to find that balance between making the customer experience as easy as possible to make a purchase, making sure that you're outranking these big MSOs at a very high and granular level with niche keywords, and then building those authentic relationships. And all of those three things, not mentioning all the other in between, it costs money and time.
Yeah. The other story that we mentioned on budget was related toward you're kind of renting traffic instead of owning traffic and spending a lot of money on ads on Leafly or Weedmaps, compensating for the fact that you don't own your own website, that you don't have your own SEO, that you own in that area, the dispensary near me, the $1 million search to get people in the door, you could burn through a lot of your budget renting your SEO and renting that traffic. But once that goes away, you don't own that.
Yes. And we see that a lot where most of their budgets are going to something like Weedmaps or Leafly, or even the Leafly and Weedmaps ecom, where in that case, your products aren't indexing with Google. They're actually going to be outranking you with their website because you're plugged into there, and you don't actually own your own data because you're not getting the SEO traffic, and it doesn't actually link to your GA4 analytics. So it's like you're just really shooting yourself in the foot, where now operators have the capabilities to actually own their own data, rank for niche keywords, rank for specific products. And what we see is as markets mature, and they're maturing quicker now in terms of education from a consumer perspective, just because of the rapid growth of cannabis. So these niche searches and these little nuances to differentiate yourself or outrank or own your data really make all the difference, because from what we're seeing, especially since COVID, a majority of the revenue and customer retention is all happening digitally. So you really got to own that and really need to understand your data. And that really ties back to the budget, because when you actually have data to look at that you own, being able to adapt your marketing strategy to that data is very, very critical. And that might mean increasing your budget in a certain area in order to get a higher return on your investment. So just a quick example, if you're seeing in your data that your customers are outranking you for a bunch of search terms that are super critical for your business, and they have a better loyalty program or more, loyal customers, you should be putting more money into direct advertising to target those demographics that you know are going to come to your store, and you have a better selection than your competitor. Little adjustments you can make through data, and a lot of it does, hey, it might cost a little bit more money now, but it's going to be a way bigger return in the long run. And if you budget it properly, you can easily be agile.
So that's a really good actionable item for the audience today, is like marketing is not an afterthought. It's not like the last thing that you guys do. Like it is probably one of the most important things that you do, because it's driving the revenue for your store.
I love having an opportunity to have those conversations early on, because I can help people navigate those pro formas and those budgets. So it's really nice to just, if my advice is to talk to a cannabis marketing professional or someone who has experience.
Cool. Yeah, and appreciate that, because it's like it just helps everybody in the long run to be able to achieve those goals. So you have the capital to be able to do it. They have the capital to be able to do it and get the success that you guys want. So cool. Budget. That was a big one. I wanted to spend a little bit more time on that than maybe some of the other ones. So the next one we have on here is like branding and website. And people probably want to rush through this process. So there's different kinds of brands I've noticed in cannabis. Some are like a little bit more kind of grungy. Some are a little bit more like this. And then you got like some higher end ones that are going this way. Is that what you mean by like branding and website? Or is it like, is it a deeper story than that?
Well, I think it's a deeper story than that. Like in cannabis, everyone has their own unique story and vision for their brand and a customer experience that they want their customers to go through. And a lot of folks don't put the proper time and budget into branding and websites, and also don't necessarily engage someone who has experience in cannabis with branding and websites, because there's so many nuances to it. Specifically on the branding side, we have a client who worked with a non-cannabis branding agency. I believe they're in Massachusetts. And early on, they reached out to us, engage us with SEO and some other ongoing services. And early on, they didn't send us a brand book, and they just had some basic guidelines. Their logo was super medical looking. It was very green. There was a cannabis leaf in it. All major red flags if you're entering into a new community as a cannabis company, want to be authentic and want to drive those authentic relationships that like you're really trying to build as a cannabis operator. So we brought that up early on, and they ignored us. And then within 2 or 3 months of us improving their SEO, I think it was Cookies opened up not far away. And all of a sudden their traffic dropped to their site. They were like, wow, we're losing business like overnight because of them opening up down the street. So we were saying, hey, we should have addressed this branding when we first brought it up. How about we address it now, so we can get this out of the way now, spend money on time now, so we can focus on revenue generating projects after this. We'll see a higher conversion rate. We can infuse community into your branding, because that's such an important aspect of it, to have goals from your brand perspective. And so we rebranded this dispensary, and within the first 2 months, traffic increased to the site, conversion rates increased, their loyalty program grew. Cookies was still stealing customers from them. But when we started getting this client in front of customers in search, at events, and building out a better loyalty program, it made all of the difference. And they were so grateful after. And they're like, wow, we should have listened to you 3 months ago. And if I had a dime for every time I heard that,
we'd all be retired now, right?
And then the same thing goes on the website. Like we took over, there was an agency, non-cannabis agency, working on a cannabis delivery website out of DC. Right away when we took it over, we were like, hey, this site was not built for conversions or SEO or UX from a e-commerce perspective. It was on native menus, but they weren't actually weren't using the native menus the right way. Like in the UX of the site, the URL structures weren't set up the right way. So even though within the first couple of months we increased the traffic to their site, we weren't happy with the conversion rate. We weren't happy with the revenue increase. So we brought up to them, hey, how about we switch your retainer to just us working on the site the next 2 months to redesign it, redevelop it, reintegrate your native e-commerce menus. And within the first 2 or 3 months after we implemented that new site design, we saw 45% increase in conversions and revenue.
It's amazing how quickly you can show an ROI with that knowledge with this, because like everybody is searching online, and like you just, unless you happen to know where the dispensary is or it's just down the street from you, you're searching.
Yeah, and if you don't know the nuances to the niche cannabis keywords, if you don't know the nuances to the niche native e-commerce solutions out there or using them to their full potential, it ends up hurting you at the end of the day. So we really come in and take that, hey, we need to enhance the quality of this actual design just to increase that conversion rate on the technical side. So again, I think that people really need to give themselves enough time to go through a formal branding and website design process in general, if they can. Obviously, things are a rush in cannabis, but working with a cannabis specific branding agency, website agency, can save you a lot of time and money in the long term. All going back to budgeting.
The other thing that it kind of leads into, and this is actually kind of really good timing on this one, is like tech stack. As somebody who works here at Flourish and is managing our omnichannel, like I am very intimately familiar with, you know, the competitive space on the marketplace, what tech stacks work together well, which ones might not work really well that together well, and like, you know, attribute, especially for you guys, it's really just attribution to those sales. Like that is it. Does your POS, does your loyalty program, does your e-commerce, does that all support getting sales attribution and the numbers that you need, or does not? Not to steal your thunder on this one, but like tech stack is like just such a huge one because it could hobble you from the beginning. And replacing that or getting out of contracts, like it could be just a freaking nightmare.
If you don't have a tech stack that aligns with your operation and your goals and your business from the start, it can cost you a lot of money and time in the long run. And even when it comes down to, like, we have a client here in Colorado, for example, they're on some POS and e-com that we never even heard of. That we're like, how are these people even paying their bills? I've never heard of these guys. I've heard of everyone. And it's just been such a pain point. We can't link it to the Google Analytics 4. We can't pull any extra consumer data from the POS. Like, it just so they don't integrate with any of the other e-com providers out there. So we can't improve the website SEO from a niche product perspective without building out individual brand and product pages, which is like so time consuming. Or, you know, we can't actually link up their AIQ loyalty to the POS the proper way. And it's like, okay, great. Now I can't show you an ROI on your loyalty program, or you can't see an ROI on everything that you're spending money on, you know, which is just a really big pain point. So there are really great POS, e-com, and specifically loyalty providers. There's more tech in the industry, but those are the main three I work with. You know, especially like Flourish, like you guys have great integrations and great data tracking and great information that we can pull. And it just makes our job so much easier, being able to show exactly how much money you're making, being able to adapt your data, learn from it. And it's just for these operators who are, you know, have budgeting concerns or are worried about their competition, it's so hard to make informed marketing and business decisions without that, because we see it all the time. People switching tech stack. It's just a pain point.
Yeah, I mean, like the tech stack is a tool to accomplish a goal. And, you know, I know with constrained resources in this industry and constrained capital, you're like, oh, someone's given me this better deal here. And you know, like a good deal today might not be a good deal tomorrow or for the long term if it actually doesn't do the thing it's supposed to do. There's a lot of unified systems in marketing only in this industry. And, you know, it's a shame because it's like these are people's lives and livelihoods, and they've invested so many years trying to build up this business, and then to fumble and ready when you start to go live and start to pitch and start to get out there, and it's a big fumble, and it is a huge hindrance on you guys because like you don't have the tools to do what you need to do. You're operating blind.
It's another thing you really need to put time into. Like if you're an operator or whoever's making a decision for an operator, they really need to educate themselves on the pros and cons of each tech stack provider, like a spreadsheet or whatever they can. See which providers, align with your budget, but most importantly, the operation and the future goals of the company. And then the other thing is you could save a lot of money and time by talking to a cannabis tech stack professional, marketing agency, someone who has case studies they can show you on results. And that's like a big part of our business model is just like, hey, here's all our tech stack partners. Here's all the great results that we see with each one. Which one aligns with your operation and your future goals? And that's the conversation you should have when making those decisions.
I like it. Those are great actionable items. And marketing's not the thing you think about after you're about to open next month. It's something that's super early on when you're making a lot of these decisions. So let's keep going through the timeline here. We've gone through budgeting. We've gone through our brand. We got our website, process there. We've done our tech stack. Now we're open. What is some of the things operators should think about for, when they're open and the ongoing marketing element of this? Because it doesn't stop once you build a website. It's a process. So share with me some things you advise some your clients on.
How do we get people through the door? How do we keep getting them to come back? And how do we really develop these authentic relationships? Those are the three main things that we're focusing on once people are open. The biggest, for most folks, there might be some anomalies out there for some of the celebrity brands, but for most operators out there, SEO is going to be the biggest driver of traffic to the website. So that's going to be, anywhere from 50 to 80% of the traffic in some cases is going to be from organic rankings.
Wow, that's a lot. So nothing through a Weed Maps or a marketplace, nothing through an iframe.
Nope. This is going to be traffic that you own. So a lot of our hyper focus is on our SEO program. That goes hand in hand with the website. That goes hand in hand with being able to utilize native e-commerce the right way. And then even branding, when you track data, we see when branding is really good, you have a higher conversion rate. It's awesome. If the site's built well, you have a higher conversion rate. So hyper focus on SEO, hyper focus on social media. It's a big part of SEO now. Building relationships with your customers and informing them in real time compliantly. Very tricky on each social media platform, utilizing the right way.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm there's different rules for different ones. I see we're in the industry, so I'm on LinkedIn and I'm seeing all these disclaimers on everyone's post. And then Facebook and Instagram have different, stories there. I guess I'm too old to be on TikTok, but
yeah, same at this point. That leads into targeted advertising on programmatic, Google, Meta, which is really, really tricky but possible if you do it the right way, and then PR. That's what gets folks through the door. Is a great story, great SEO, great social, great ads. Then a really hyper focus on loyalty and aligning that with the social media and the SEO and the blog strategy to get that customer retention going.
It all ties together. See the video with Stu Zykum on PR and actually hitting it back earlier. You want to negotiate better leases so you're not paying time for when you're not open. The RO episode's a good one for negotiating better leases so you're not burning your marketing budget or the rest of the budget while you're waiting to get open.
It all goes back to budget, baby.
It all goes back to budget. That's why that was the first one. So when you're planning for this stuff, what do you want to take in from an actionable item for anybody who's watching today?
Again, when you're going through the branding and website process, you should be thinking about these things then. When you're going through the tech stack process, these things should be part of that decision to realize these future goals and these future hurdles that you're going to have to cross as an operator. When we align each one of these facets to people's marketing funnels is when we see the best results and the most ROI. And a great example of that is a client that we took over right around Thanksgiving. They have about 23 locations. They were working with an agency who built their website and was working on their SEO for about 4 years or so. And then it was just website and SEO. And then they were working on their social media, their PR, their loyalty, and everything internally. The people internally were not professionals in those specific marketing channels that they were working on. The designers were using Canva, which no offense to Canva, but when it comes to high level design and custom design, you're not going to be able to take things to the next level and implement the packaging design into the social media campaign, into the creative blog campaign, into the educational campaign. So we took over this project right around Thanksgiving. We launched them a new custom Dutchie Plus native solution website. And so we launched the website. We started doing their SEO. took over their social media, took over some advertising, and took over some loyalty for them. And when we took it over, they were kind of leading the pack at a state level against their competitors because they were one of the first to market, but not by much. And a lot of the people who were creeping up on them were just recently open in the past maybe year or two compared to the 6 years of operation that they've been open. So within the first, I think 2 to 3 months, we saw that a huge jump in traffic. I want to say 20 to 25% after 3 months. We started to see them leading the pack a little bit more. And now it's been 8 months, almost 8 months now. And now they are getting triple to maybe 3.5 times the amount of traffic of their competitors. Now what we've done, because we've aligned the design, the branding, the social media, the SEO, the blog, the loyalty, all of those strategies and all of that data, and keep making informed decisions off that data, we've created a gap. And that's the gap that everyone wants to see, whether it's a competitor that's been a competitor for years, a new competitor. You want to make it as hard as possible for folks to catch up to you. It's a safety blanket, because what's going to keep happening over time? Compliance is going to change. Google's going to change. Search engines are going to change. Social media is going to change.
And that's going to erode over time.
Exactly. So the bigger gap that you can create between you and your competition by aligning all of these things and addressing everything that we've talked about is going to make all the difference in the long run here.
That makes a lot of sense. It's a very holistic approach to this, because like everything has to talk to each other. Everything has to feed each other. As long as it all comes back to the budget, that you've aligned a good enough budget to be able to handle all this stuff. I love going back to the numbers on this one. The last one that you have on this list, I actually think is extremely smart, but I think maybe in my, at least anecdotal knowledge, I see people giving lip service to this, but not engaging in this in a way that they probably should. And what I'm going to ask you, but like it's community engagement. And it's part of the application process. You want to get out to the community, get your approval and do that. But once that's done, everyone's got finite resources. Like, how much can you really engage in that community? So, I read through what we talked about here, but like, let's dive into that. Like, what makes a very effective community engagement program? And like, what is the ROI on that for the operator?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is one of the most important things that a lot of people don't talk about. It's beyond getting your doors open, being a cool cannabis company, having great SEO. If you're not engaged with community and have that community support behind you, someone else is going to come in and outshine you in that respect. And that's what's really going to end up them stealing your customers. So it really kind of, in my opinion, ties everything together. And that goes back to like the branding aspect of things, where I mentioned like everyone has this unique story with cannabis. Why did you get involved in cannabis? A lot of people are opening up businesses in communities that were impacted by the war on drugs. A lot of people, you open up a dispensary, a guy 2 houses down was in jail for, a cannabis seed in his car when he was 17. So you really don't know what the perspective is going to be on your company. And so very early on, people need to not only define what their community engagement goals are and see what's realistic for them based off their budget and themselves as a company, but take action on it and take action on things that you're very, very passionate about. And so we find that people are very passionate about educating consumers and getting them access to education or access to medical help. People are very passionate about social justice in the cannabis industry. How can you give back to communities that you've entered that have been impacted by the war on drugs, or, there's people still in jail for cannabis? How can you go to an event and shine because, you're engaging with that local nonprofit that no other business in the town supports, but you really want to get behind because you want to build community and you want to show your customers that you're looking to build community. So very, very early on in the process, we try to get people tuned into this perspective of it not just being a box to check. Have it be an authentic engagement and get the people behind you. Like, what do people need? What does the town need? Like, how can we make this town better?
Even doing cleanups, like just picking up garbage around the area, keeping the place around the shop clean, like at a very bare minimum.
It's free to do a trash cleanup. It's free to post about it on your social media. It's free. I mean, if you're paying someone, maybe. But in theory, it's like, you don't have to put a lot of money behind a social media and a blog campaign and a trash cleanup and get your staff to come out and get involved. Or better yet, we like to just do online campaigns where it's like, hey, we're trying to raise awareness and money for a homeless shelter because like the homeless rate just went up in our city. Like let's band together and like really do this together. And that type of stuff is so important, not only for the consumer, but your staff as well. Getting your staff tuned in and giving them a purpose to work and excited about being at work is going to allow them to do their job better. And the bud tender is essentially the gatekeeper of your product and the sales.
Any little element of going out there and helping. Like, I love the educational stuff. I love the community engagement items on there. But like, every business should have some element of giving and taking back from the community. It's really low hanging fruit on the PR point of view. And it also just feels good because it's a mission beyond just making money, and being there for the community. So any other like easy action items on like the community engagement one stuff, or like even more elevated action items as well? I don't want to like just hit all the easy stuff while we're here on the YouTube.
I just think that like as a cannabis operator, it's such a unique industry with such a unique past that it's important to kind of map out, what your goals are and the difference that you're going to make in your community and like with your customers and what type of authentic relationship you're going to build. And that can come down to like very early on, just like seeking nonprofits and talking to them before you open or even after you open, finding community partners, talking to the local schools, talking to the local government and seeing how you can be an asset to it. Because that really is what I believe is the cherry on top of everything that we just talked about in this podcast. It's like all these things matter and they're very, very important. They're going to and they're going to help, but nothing beats really getting the community to stand behind you. Because at the end of the day, that's who's coming to your shop. That's who's going to be leaving Google reviews. That's the customer retention. And you want to give your customer and your staff and all the stakeholders involved in your project a purpose. And you will see the difference in your business when you do that.
I like it. From a man with 10 years of experience who can speak knowledgeably on this, I really appreciate
cannabis. It's like we're helping people's mental health. We're helping with their medical ailments. We're helping communities. Like there's just such an opportunity to like really make a difference in this industry, and all eyes on us. Like no other industries are like talking about this, and they totally should be.
The reason why we have experienced people on here, it's like there are proven ways to do things successfully, within our industry. And they're not hard. You just have to listen and find out and look at who's done this successfully and, who's been successful, what are they doing, and then repeat that. And like, these are 5 more steps today related to marketing that like, they're here, they're proven winners. It's ready for you to be able to do that. So John, thank you for taking the time to be on today. Thanks for being a great partner of Flourish so far. For one, any value today, if you're watching this and you've watched this far, you've obviously received some value from this today. Subscribe, give a like. It really helps out the algorithms. If you want to put some comments in the YouTube channel, I'd love to be able to have John back for, we did a very 101 today. We can get deeper. John can go, he's like, I don't want to get too deep on the first one. I'm like, no, we'll wait for the second one. So we'll find some interesting projects to go really deep on. But for anybody who wants to, anybody who's watching right now and wants to engage with you and the team at PufCreative further, what is the best way to engage with you and the team?
I mean, I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. You can just look me up, John Shute, JOHN, PufCreative's on there as well. And then our website, pretty much any form leads to me as well, sadly. So PUFCREATIV, PufCreative.com. Reach out. We're happy to help. We just want to see this industry get to a better place and, keep providing value for our clients.
I appreciate the time today. And, I hope people take it with the experience that you bring to the table on this one. And I wish everyone the best success on this one. But John, thanks again for your time. And I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.